language and call the meeting to order. Please all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and good evening. Normally we start off with public comment, but everybody else is on the agenda, so I'm going to try to rearrange things, but so that I don't goof up and forget things tonight, I'm going to go right to the minutes. And I'd ask for a motion on the Vergennes City Council meeting, May 28th, 2009. Chris?
Second.
And Randy seconded it. Any omissions, errors, corrections? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
I'll make a motion we approve June 2nd and June 16th.
Thank you for doing that.
I have a problem with the 16th.
Okay. Well, we got to have a second. Lowell seconded it. And so, again, corrections, errors, omission, the 16th. Randy, go ahead and speak up.
Under the Public Works Department, my name is spelled wrong.
David?
I have a hard time keeping my name spelled right.
Under the Vergennes partnership.
Same one?
Same one, the 16th, on the back page, where it reads, Alderman Austin pointed out that it is inevitable that the special assessment district cover improvements, et cetera, et cetera. I'd also like the minutes to reflect that I stated that I am opposed to the implementation of a special assessment district.
We'll give Joni a few seconds to find all that stuff.
There's two, John. There's that one, and then there's the budget, right? Is that what he's talking about?
The 16th.
There's two on the
Yeah.
16th. Didn't have them. There. And then, where's that other one, David?
Second page.
On this page. Okay.
Yep.
The Vergennes partnership.
But he's at the top,
Back page.
right here somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
David is opposed.
Let me know when you're ready, Joan. No
I'm
rush.
okay.
Okay? All right. All those in favor of those corrections and other items that were adjusted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. That addresses the minutes, and thank you for indulging me there. We're going to go to Michelle first because the food is getting cold when he's up here. We don't want that to happen. So we have a request for a liquor license in the tobacco application for the Stevens House on the Green. Stipulations are that we don't see anything about live music. Do see the operations hours are from 3 p.m. to 12 a.m. So could I have,
That would include outside consumption on the patio.
thank you for bringing that out, or mentioning that. I'd ask for a motion.
Make said motion.
Randy, Lowell second. Open for discussion. Come on, give him a hard time.
I like my food.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you for your time.
You too.
Good night.
They're good. They are. Okay, we're going to do the next one that Joan just handed us, and I didn't read it. License name is Running Takeoff. The bar antidote. What are they looking for, Joan?
They're looking for a recommendation for their caterer's permit. Those are two different applications, one on the front, one on the back. Both will be held up here in the Opera House, and we've never had any problems with his catering, and we do have certificate of insurance on file in my office.
Important things, both of them.
Second.
We have a motion by David, and I think Chris got it out. And so open for discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Boy, we're going too fast. I'm getting dizzy.
It's too warm.
Yeah, what'd you do? Turn up the heat?
Jason, I know, really.
Okay. Now we'll go into public comment. We don't have any public. Neil's not here today. I expected him.
Yeah.
I had a little joke planned for Neil. I was going to bring it. I have a rooster, a stuffed rooster. I was going to hook it up across the stage with a string for those that attended the meeting about the chickens. So those that weren't there, private little joke. Thought I would have got a laugh out of that one. Okay, the warrants are going around.
They're all the way over there.
I haven't signed them, but I will. So, old business update.
Michael, can I just ask?
Yep, you
about,
may.
H.J. LaBeouf, the streetscape sign.
What we've hired the H.J. LaBeouf and Son to do, and they haven't finished their work, but there's a line item in our budget for grant funding. And what I hired H.J. LaBeouf and Sons to do is to do a streetscape design that runs from sheer cuts in front of Linda's, in front of Addison Outfitters, and around the corner, in anticipation of making an application for a downtown grant. They don't fund design. The way that program is set up, Christine, they don't fund design, right? So, and of course, in this instance, you know, not only do I need to have a design to be able to apply for the funds, but I need to have a cost estimate of the project as well, because typically we look to property owners to fund 25% of the project, and 50% would be paid from the transportation, from the downtown fund, and then the other 25% would come from presumably the water tower fund. Obviously, you know, when you're in front of that, handicap accessibility in that area is actually pretty tricky. When you think about Linda's ramp, and then there's a stairway that leads up to apartments upstairs, and then Addison Outfitters, and then also it's going to be a little tricky around shear cuts because of what was constructed in front of the Commodore Grill. So obviously, I need to have somebody that knows the ADA standards and can design that and get us a cost estimate.
Thank you for bringing my attention to that. Any other questions on budget items? Any numbers there?
Committee reports. Committee reports.
Okay, committee report. Fishing Derby.
296 kids from New York, Vermont. Vermont as far away as Bennington. Their family comes up every year from Bennington. Lots of prizes given out, door prizes, boats for the two big winners. A lot of participants, a couple bad showers, but we fed them barbecue on Saturday and pizza at the presenting ceremony afterwards. So,
Had a bonfire Friday night?
bonfire Friday night, and Josh Brooks played another night.
Yeah, he played Friday night, so. Yeah, so I went down several times, some large fish caught. So everybody seemed to be having a real good time, and kudos to the committee members. They did an excellent job. I think we ought to keep them in mind for another year. Rumor is they raised somewhere around, and I don't want to misquote, somewhere around $7,000.
That's right.
Holy smokes.
And they were hoping to give a prize to every child that entered. So they had that much. And I'd actually, yeah, and I'd like to invite them up to say a thanks. So we see if we can schedule them in. Okay? The money raised was to go towards prizes to be handed out at the fishing derby. And no, for this year's. They just had it this last week.
I know that the money raised gets rolled back into the Derby.
No, actually,
All the money is converted into prizes and cost of running the Derby.
Okay. Thank you. Every kid was given a T-shirt.
And there was grab bags at the end, so, I mean, yeah, everybody got something.
yep, free barbecue, all sorts of fun. It was a grand turnout. There was a couple that came in on a boat that, the boat was over $1 million, worth over $1 million. And the kids, they allowed the kids to climb all over the boat and fish off the boat, and they were friendly. I had a nice, very nice conversation with them and talked to them, the people on the boat, and there was really a good group. The boaters worked well with them this year, and I think that was a big plus. So, yep, great, excellent, thank you. Would you just kind of give a brief report on where we just came from?
Sure.
And
Mike, sure, Mike Null and I met with Vergennes School Board, I guess, the Grady School District Board, regarding the potential, or at least some ideas about how to deal with the swimming pool property. And the school board had basically two options that they were discussing. One was to create a 501c or a nonprofit. The second was to have the city take over operation of the pool. Majority of our time, I think we kind of tossed ideas back and forth about kind of what it would cost the city in terms of management, money, insurance, those kinds of issues. And just a lot of conversations surrounding that type of thing. We had a little bit of, towards the end, we talked a bit about whether or not there was any momentum or any interest in forming a nonprofit and what that might mean. That's anything else you guys, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that was pretty much the gist of the conversation.
yes, things are going to go forward, and some investigation is going to be done as far as
Right,
cost goes, like
right.
Joe was saying. And so we're nowhere yet, but we're in discussion as to the potential and the possibilities as to where this may land in the end. So we don't have a definite path
There's
yet.
going to be some numbers presented to Mel in terms of the last couple of years' budget, this year's budget, that type of thing. So he gets some ideas how much more work it's going to cost
Question?
city
Yes,
manager.
is that, it's not just the pool property, it's all that property
Yes,
out there?
yes.
That's correct. That's what, because right now, when the Vergennes Union Elementary School was formed, there was 14 acres of land that went to the Vergennes Union Elementary School. The Vergennes Graded School District still owns the land underlying the swimming pool, the tennis courts, the skate park, and the skating rink, and the Little League field, part of the nature trail, and an additional 8 acres over off from New Haven Road. Also, the Graded School District owns land that represents, I'll say about a third, maybe a half of the Union High School's athletic fields. It's just, a lot of people think that all of the athletic fields that the high school uses as a part of their property. That's really not the case. Some of their athletic fields are over on the Graded School District property. So what the school board is contemplating was that parcels, if you will, that are adjacent to the Union Elementary School that encompass the nature trail would go to the Union Elementary School. Property that underlies the athletic fields would go to the high school. And so what remains is a strip of land, off from East Street that includes the swimming pool, tennis court, skating rink, and skate park. And what they're contemplating is either forming a 501c3 to convey that land to and operate those facilities, which also might encompass continuing to lease the tennis court and skating rink to the city, or conveying that whole strip with all of those facilities, as opposed to the city leasing right now, because we lease everything there except for the pool. So that's what they're contemplating.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that? If not, Ziggy, anything to report?
No, I know all the towns are struggling right now to get their budget in place, so there wasn't much to,
Ferrisburg's having a meeting next Tuesday night? And I've penciled it in as I'd like to attend, so, if somebody can, if you can just, somebody can confirm that that's still happening, and I can call Loretta and just, I'll call Loretta. I'll take you out of the loop. You guys got enough to do.
I know, yeah, because I know I sent you an email on it, but I don't remember.
Yeah, no, it's next Tuesday. So I'll call Loretta and just tell her I just want to come visit and say hi, and if you'd like to go, Zig, just let me know, and we can either carpool, or I can go you know, if you'd like to come, fine. Have one of these. Oh, tomorrow night, there's a hearing about from SB Collins on the new property that wants to occupy, or the new building they want to occupy, where the Roadhouse or Country Kitchen used to be. And it's at 7 p.m., and I'm going to try to be in Ferrisburg, yeah, at the town hall. So anybody that has interest and would like to attend that, feel free. I plan on going. If you need a ride, just let me know. It's happening at 7 p.m. So, yep. So that's little news. Randy, anything in your world?
Other than my four walls of my shop, it's been pretty bland out there.
That's a good thing. You've got lots of work. That's very positive. Keep the money coming into Vergennes. Spend locally, though.
I do.
David?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Chris?
Nothing to report.
Noticing the farmer's market is looking attractive. We need to get more people in there. You
Rhonda
can't do
is
that.
out of town,
Yeah.
and she's coming back after July 8th. So I think once she gets home, I think
You got my email
yes.
about our next City Voice that comes out in August. Is my wife's got all the editors lined up, or the writers, and so anybody that wants anything done, if you have something, we're actually starting to throw some of these articles that are above and beyond onto our website. So,
In regards to the farmer's market, would it be possible to maybe get a sandwich board or something to put on Route 7? Or, I don't know if we can put it out there, because it's not, some way to maybe,
like the state is doing for the Mount Philo one, you mean? I didn't say that.
well, I just, if we could
Yeah.
get some people off of Route 7 on the way from Burlington to Middlebury on a Monday night or something.
The sandwich board that Rennie bought was for tax dog licenses,
Yeah, right here.
yeah, that's
Cracker
city
Barrels,
stuff.
anything that
But the
he,
farmer's market has their own
yes,
sandwich board.
they did. I don't know.
But
if
Can
they-
you put a
wants to put
sign
it
on
out on
someone
7.
else's
Who's
property?
ever
I thought that
heading
was
for
against the
big.
zoning.
If it's
Tell
not
them
in
to
the right
lug
of
it out
way.
and
Yeah, I don't know who's, I mean, I don't even do the farmer's market. I would just like to see better publicity for it,
Yeah.
and if people, if you get a sign out on Route 7, like the one in, up by Mount Philo or something.
Well, Bill Cassidy has an old hay wagon that he loans to us, that Marguerite puts her big signs on. If we can get somebody to paint something up halfway decent on a piece of plywood or so, maybe we could throw something out on, at Arbuchon's and do that. I don't know if,
I'll email her.
good idea. Thanks. Excellent, Joe. Let's get the word out there. That's what we need, the word. Anything else, Miss Chris? Joni? We'll make this go by fast. I know you're tired. Okay, so that concludes the committee. Update on appeal of item number 5A.
I don't have
Mel.
anything new there, Mike. One of the things, this thing is dragging on, so one of the things I want to do is try to get this thing moving, and they obviously have filed an appeal on the second one, but I wish that we would get an answer on that first appeal, find out where we stand. It was on the record. The court system has the tape, they have the evidence, they have the decision. To me, I think they should just make a determination whether or not the Development Review Board, took appropriate action. This thing hangs and ends up costing us, legal fees. On our side, cost legal fees on Schlansky's side. I mean, to me, let's get it in front of, typically the Judge Tom Durkin is the guy that is the head of the environmental court. Typically, they have a site visit, come down, take a look at the situation, make a decision. I don't see why this thing has to drag on and on with a lot of legal fees and briefs and all that type of thing. We had our hearing, the board made a decision, so I'm going to try to impress upon our legal team to basically force the issue. Let's get going and stop all of the out of court discussion.
I've had conversations a couple times, the most recent with David, and every time he manages to bring up that part of the conversation of his side of the story. And so I wish there was a way that service could be provided. I'm not sure that we can come to an agreement on how that happens. So, yeah, and it's mainly all about money in the end. So we can only pray for a windfall. Okay.
B we've covered.
B we've covered. Thank you. Item number 6, city manager's report.
Yeah, I'm just going to defer till you get to the other items that I have under new business, Mike.
No problem. Numbers 7A under new business. In your packet, you have a letter from Terry. I don't know if this requires any, what I would actually like to do is ask for a motion in support of Terry's request for endorsement. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
David and Joe seconded it. Now we'll open up the discussion. I think the letter is really self-explanatory. I mean, he's very clear, and I believe that's our direction that we were heading. It's just, this is more, I believe, of a formality so that he can move forward.
What this, I'm not sure if Terry's letter, I thought I read it, but maybe I didn't. But anyway, one of the things, anytime that there's a community development, it does make reference to the public hearing. They are on a tight schedule to get this application in under this round. I think their filing deadline is July 23rd, all right? So, July 28th. So, in essence, what I've suggested is you have a public hearing on the municipal development plan already scheduled for July 21st. What we would also seek the authorization from the board would be to warn a public hearing immediately following that public hearing for this purpose as well. It's just a part of their requirement in their application.
And then we would provide Mel and the clerk's office with a folder with all the information about the project. So if a member of the public wants to come before the hearing and see what's going on, that'll all be in there.
Okay. Then can I kind of amend that motion to read that we go ahead with the public hearing and warn it?
Certainly.
You agree with that?
Friendly.
You agree with that?
Okay.
Any other discussion?
28th?
Of July.
With the Vermont Community Development Program
All right, now.
by the 28th.
Okay, and we're meeting July 21st?
We're having a hearing scheduled on the municipal development plan for July 21st anyway. What I'm
Okay.
suggesting is that once that public hearing is closed on the municipal development plan, that you reopen another public hearing dealing with this
I
application.
didn't catch that
And
part.
have them both
Both
the
at
same
the
night.
same night, okay.
Right, correct.
Okay.
All right.
Any other clarification needed there? If not, we have any other discussion?
Just one quick question.
Go for it.
This is all strictly elderly housing? That's-
Yes,
That's correct.
yes, it is.
Okay.
Joan, can you read back kind of the motion so I don't get it messed up? Or you want me
They
to-
have a request for a city endorsement of the Community Development Block Grant, which requires the city holding a public hearing scheduled for July 21st, immediately following the other public hearing. Is that city plan public
Yes,
hearing?
yep.
Which is beginning at 7 PM.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Done. Thank you.
I've talked to parents and people who participated in that fishing derby, and you guys did a bang-up job. I just heard nothing but great things about it.
Great.
So-
Thank you for your comment. Nope, no problem.
Well, we had originally, on our calendar, we had
Right.
thought about having the public hearing on the 14th, and just because of the scheduling of the planning commission's public hearing, because you couldn't have a public hearing, there had to be at least 30 days pass, so there is no meeting on the 14th of July.
Okay,
On the 21st, this might be a little ambitious, but the 21st is to be a public hearing on the municipal development plan, a public hearing on the CDBG application, and regular business. Now, if Mike and I have talked about this, that if those hearings get to, 8:45 or 9 o'clock, then obviously we would need to have a subsequent meeting on July 28th to finish regular business. So the goal is for you to have just one meeting in July, but it's really all about how that 21st goes. That's correct.
It's an aggressive one. If looks like we have a lot of regular agenda item types things, we could possibly come in like we have been these last few weeks, maybe at 6:30 and try to get some of the items out of the way and then open the public hearing right on time. Yeah, and a lot has to do, we've heard some of the people that attended the other public hearing kind of know who to expect to see and what the issues are. So I don't think there's going to be any other I don't think there'll be any surprises at that meeting. So, we're in hopes. We'll keep it moving. Okay. What was it? Item number 7B. We did that. Number 7C. Mel, you want to
Sure.
take that?
Basically, I think it was at the last meeting when I put together some correspondence from the owner of the Emerson Guest House. Basically, just it was about whether or not we were billing bed and breakfasts fairly, and so what I did is I did a little bit of research into how we have been billing for these units, and there's a separate sheet on here that looks like this that has accessory dwellings on the top. And it is a little bit easier for us, I feel, that our sewer rate structure parallel our zoning uses. And one of the things where we have seen some inconsistency is that in the case of an accessory dwelling unit, which is a small apartment, and under the law and our zoning regulation, when somebody has like a one-room accessory apartment, it's really a part of a single-family dwelling. It's not a duplex. An accessory dwelling unit is a part of a single-family dwelling, and we bill for one unit. Relative to a bed and breakfast, we define a bed and breakfast as a dwelling unit whereby the owner or occupants rent out up to 6 rooms. But a bed and breakfast is a part of a bed and breakfast, and historically, the way that we've been billing bed and breakfast is that the bed and breakfast operation is considered a separate unit from the dwelling, and so therefore they've been billed for 2 units. It may very well be a no harm, no foul, because the way that we bill sewer, if let's say you were a restaurant, we send you a bill for $29.16, which buys you 6,000 gallons of water, and then the water district reads the meter, And if you use more than 6,000 gallons, that's reported to Joan, and the next time Joan sends a bill, she bills for so-called overage. So like if they use 11,000 gallons, then they would get another bill for another month at 6, and then they would pay 5,000 more. So relative to a bed and breakfast, the way that we have historically been doing it, we've been treating those as 2 units, and when they pay their bill, they actually are buying 12,000 gallons, and if they use 13, then they get billed the additional 1,000. You know, to me, a bed and breakfast, like an accessory dwelling unit or like a home occupation, it's contained within a single-family dwelling, and therefore shouldn't be regarded as a double unit. So the bed and breakfast, boarding and rooming house, and inns, you know, I feel should not be charged so-called double units or triple units or anything like that. It's charged 1 unit, but subject to the overages, just like other commercial uses. So it would be treated like a residential property, however, subject to the overage like non-residential properties are used. Another inconsistency that we've uncovered is whereby in one instance a community care facility has a dwelling unit kind of contained, but the master kitchen is downstairs, and in that instance it's been historically charged as 1 unit, whereas another nursing home in town has an apartment for the manager to reside there, and we've charged them as 2 units. And then we have another nursing home that has neither of those situations, and so they just get charged with 1 unit. So there's been some inconsistency, in my opinion. And again, it still comes down to no harm, no foul, because, you know, if, you know, the bottom line is as long as they're treated with the potential for overage, you know, it results in the same, you know, if the occupancy is high and active at that facility. So what I'm looking for is effective our next billing. I don't know, with these, Joan, are these monthly people right now anyway?
Yes.
Okay, so this wouldn't necessarily have to wait until October, like it comes out of that other, they're in part of that other book, if you will. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm proposing to you is that like with accessory dwellings, home occupations, that these other uses, bed and breakfast, boarding and rooming house, inns, nursing or community care home, and professional residence office be considered a single unit as part of the single-family dwelling, if there is a single-family dwelling there.
Does this require a motion and a,
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, you guys set, I don't set rates, they set rates, so yes.
And then if he sent it with the next bill.
Lowell made the motion, do I have a second?
second?
Randy seconded it, open it up for discussion.
Sorry. So that is if there is a single unit, it has to be a single unit dwelling
They would
there.
all be, regardless of whether or not there's overnight quarters for people associated or not, all right, they really are considered 1 unit. So in essence, you know, to name the properties, it would clarify that Emerson's Bed and Breakfast, Strong House Inn, I call it Briarwood Manor, can't think of the name of the I'm sorry.
Alden Place.
The place on Alden Place, Ringer Care Home, and what used to be Clark's Care Home. Mm-hmm. All of those facilities. Also, we just recently approved a permit for Fred Lowen to operate a boarding and rooming house in the Estee property. All of those properties would be considered a single unit under that, but of course, billed for any overage, just as they are today. They're billed for overages now.
I'm sorry, you
But could you explain how that's different from the way it's done now?
Currently, two examples. Ringers, all right, they have historically been charged as one unit, all right? The ringers live upstairs, operate their nursing home. They've been charged one unit. If they use more than 6,000 gallons per month, they're billed for overage. Spruce Gardens, I think is the name of the Briarwood, that's a 19-bed facility, but it also has an apartment that was, in essence, originally designed for the overnight management to live in. We have historically charged them for 2 units, okay?
Apartment
Right.
from the nursing home.
Well, it is.
They do have a kitchen in a whole.
Yes, I
independent.
realize that, but the way that was, the way that apartment was approved, it really was approved as as dwelling quarters associated with the nursing home, and I think that's the difference. If they use it as apartment associated with oversight of the quarters, it's a part of the operation, no different than ringers. If it's used as an absolute separate standalone apartment, that would be 2 units.
Okay, so
If
we've been charging them 2.
Because it's been
And
on
we've
the-
only been charging Ringo.
Right.
I don't remember the specifics about the complaint from Emerson's Guest House.
Well, it's, when I say complaint, it's
Or
really
query, I guess.
fairness,
Right.
whether or not, the Walshes operate, they are a single-family dwelling. They rent out lodging to paying guests. Basically, if somebody has if you rent out more than
But I mean, how are they billed now?
she bills at 2 units.
Okay.
But they would be billed as,
For
they're billed at 2 units.
Right.
Plus overages, if applicable.
Okay.
All right, so I mean, like in the case of the Walshes, if they always use more than 12,000 gallons per month, their bill will be no different.
Right.
Right.
However, anytime under this scenario, if they use less than 12,000, their base, instead of being a 6,000 gallon base, it changes from a 12,000 a month base to a 6,000 gallon a month. So they could see some benefit, if you will, by being considered 1 unit.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
So basically, vote to this motion, that's what it would put in place, is that there is consistency among all these uses that he has pointed out here, and they'll all be subject to overage charges if they exceed 6,000 gallons.
Right, because the way that our ordinance is set up, the overage charges are only for non-residential uses. That's how it is currently stated there. And what I want to make it clear is that these uses, which are certainly residential-like, are treated like non-residential units for overage purposes. Because right now, people who are solely residential, I mean, at your home, Joe, if you use more than 18,000 gallons in a quarter, you don't get an extra sewer bill. All right? These units, because they have a non-residential activity or non-primary residence activity going on, I feel that that activity is commercial-like and therefore should be subject to the overage.
Good discussion. Any other questions or clarifications? If not, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Okay. Item 7D.
You know, we had those in a folder once, Joan. I don't know. The social service agreements? Yeah, I had them, we had them out.
Those going to be signed?
Yeah,
Do you want me to run down and get them? They're
Yeah.
probably on the corner of her desk.
yeah, I'm sorry. We have prepared all of those. we included one sample in your packet.
Yeah.
They're all written based on that sample, if you will.
We're doing good. We're doing
And,
real well.
you know, obviously, these are the appropriations that the voters approved this past March. And the way that our process works, anything that gets approved in March, we prepare a contract for the ensuing fiscal year, which requires them to, in essence, provide the service that the voters approved. And then within 11 months after the end of next fiscal year, they have to provide us with a report of services that they provided, which acts as a bill, and they release the money. One of the things is, that's very specific in the agreement, let's say that there was a voted appropriation for a particular entity, and they sign a contract with us to provide that service. If over the course of the period from July 1 to June 30, no Vergennes resident is served, there is no compensation. So it's tied into, it is voter approved, but it's not set up so that it's approved, therefore write a check to the organization. They have to provide service to at least one resident to be compensated under that contract based on that voter authorization. And, you know, some of the agencies, you know, in the past don't provide the report. We don't pay, and, you know, we're assuming that that organization didn't provide service to any resident in the city of Vergennes.
And all we need is signatures to those. We don't, that's it. We just gotta sign them.
Right.
So we'll keep that stuff moving around. and
There's
make sure it's
two, there
back
should be
to
two of each.
Yeah.
There should be two originals, if you will, for each agency.
Yep, keep that going, and we'll move on to 7E. Report on the projected earnings, watershed reserve funds.
Yeah, you know, I gave this to the board last time, and I think that they're, based on the policy, which I copied, the new policy, it says, the city council shall review a report of projected earnings of the watershed recreation reserve fund in June of each year. And then it says the city council shall adopt an expenditure budget for the recreation facilities maintenance fund for the ensuing year. I have not drafted such a proposal yet, so that will need to remain an open issue. But I did want to let you know, show you what that recreation reserve fund has earned, or in essence, is projected to earn. Joan will get a report here in another 10 days, I'm going to say, right, Joan? All right, and so we will, once we get that report, we will be able to absolutely determine how much earnings that occurred in that over the last fiscal year. We will, it's not over that 8% or 6% cap. We'll tell you what that is, and I'll work on a budget, because what I've got to do actually will be to take a look at our recreation facilities and find out what kind of work might be needed in the coming year. So I don't have that ready for you for this evening, but I'll try to get that to you for the next meeting.
That's capped at 6%, right now?
That's correct.
Keep them busy.
Yeah, basically what you do is you take the way that it's written is you take 75% of your earnings.
Yep.
Calculate what that is. Then you look at what was your beginning fund balance, and you multiply that times 6% and find out whether or not the 75% exceeded 6%. If it did, it's capped at 6%. And I think in this instance, Joan, the 75% fell short of 6%, correct? Ever so slightly.
How much short?
Initially, we thought it was close, but when you did it the next day, it's like, nah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my little spreadsheet here.
So are we going to allocate up to 6%, or are we going to just allocate what we need and that's it?
What will happen is that there actually is one other, and maybe we can take that up at the next meeting, because typically the board authorizes some money for the Sam Fishman pool. That is something that the board would need to take action on, because historically, 6,000 has come from that fund to help support that operation.
which
We should take action on that tonight?
If you'd like to, that'd be good.
I make a motion that we allocate $6,000 to the Sam Fishman Memorial Pool
Out of the watershed fund?
out of the watershed fund.
We have a motion and a second. Open it for discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's standard.
Nothing went up? We won't need any more than that?
Well, they'd always like more, but they haven't requested it, right? They didn't mention it tonight.
No?
From a recreation reserve fund, or is it going to come from the recreation facilities maintenance fund?
It actually, how that works, Joan, is once we get the right number,
Yeah,
it first goes into the recreation maintenance reserve fund, all of it.
All of it.
All of it goes in.
And then take
6 pops
6,000.
out.
Okay,
Because
so
that
it's coming from-
6,000
Okay.
is intended to be used for maintenance of that swimming pool facility, which, currently isn't a city facility, but it's intended to be used for maintenance of that operation.
okay, I just wanted to know which fund,
Nope.
how it's working. Okay.
There's no other line item.
Okay,
Yeah, it could be
we have a
lunch.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, next item on here is item number F, 7F, request from city clerk to transfer land record fees increase to land record computerization fund. I'd ask for motion.
Make said motion.
Okay, Randy and Chris, and open it up for discussion. Joan, you want to add anything to the memo that you submitted, or?
That pretty much explains it, but the rates are going up effective July 1 to $10 a page compared to $8 a page. And the city does have two accounts going. We have a restoration fund, which is to restore books that are in my vault, which I have had several redone totally. It's very expensive to do, but they get frail and start tearing and falling apart if you don't get them restored, and then you're going to lose the history. And then we also have the computerization fund, which we started when the rates went from 6 to 7. Well, it was 7 with $1 going in the reserve. Then when it went to 8, we created the computerization fund because, well, based on, the Clerks Association, when we all meet and get together, that's definitely where the future is going, is putting your records online. And they're telling us to prepare for the future and, not wait because most likely the state will tell us in 2 years they all need to be online and they won't be giving us any money to do that conversion. So that's what I'm following, like what the majority of the clerks are doing and recommending to their select boards, that we set these increases aside instead of putting that increase into the general operating fund, so that we can begin doing in-house conversion. Like myself, I want to start in with just the maps, all the Mylars on digital, so that you can just email them to anyone who needs them, or enlarge them, reduce them.
Dumb question. The money that we raise stays here in Vergennes.
Right, it's a city account.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify.
He's raising it up to
No, the
$8.
Clerks Association, the legislature approved this last session to increase the fees from $8 to $10. And like Mylars, we used to charge $8, they're a flat 15 now. It used to go by size. And now it's a flat 15, and the legislature raised the fees. And they wanted to propose it with the increase to go to a computerization fund, but that creates so much discussion back and forth because the local control, don't lose local control, but the state, when they come along and say do it, we have to do it. So that's what they're recommending we all do, and the majority of the towns, that's what they're doing.
And you're happy with that dollar figure?
The $2 more to go in, yeah.
How many years do you think it's going to take to get us where we need to be to do it all?
I have no idea. What they're doing now, maybe, you know, a few of the towns, they're already electronically doing their recording on their computers as well as on the hard copy. I have not done any of that. They're scanning them into some type of software they've bought. Well, I had a quote done just for my Mylars, which are probably 75 or so of them. And that was going to be like $3,400. And they would come every year and add any new ones that got filed with you and add it to the indexes, offer you 3 different indexes. So if it's that kind of money for 75 Mylars, if they're talking about going back to the beginning of time and putting everything on there, it's going to be pricey. It's nothing you're going to accomplish unless you hire it out where, you know, it takes someone a year because they come into your office and have to photograph everything in your office because they can't take it out. 1800s,
Do they get used much at all now?
all the time.
They do?
Genealogy, people are in there all the time.
Really?
What do we get paid for? Do we get anything off in genealogy?
No, we don't charge people for genealogy. People are tracing their heritage and, you know, they're our local people, or were our local people.
Taxpayers and
It
stuff.
brings them
yeah.
into town.
Yeah.
They love that. And they say, well, what do we need to pay?
Yeah, there was a
We
group
don't
in here
charge.
that came in today while I was
Yeah.
here.
Well, the other day when I was in the office, some people came in and asked questions.
Yeah, we get a lot during the summer. People are traveling, so they're checking on the ancestors while they're out. And those are all the books I've redone, because they get a lot of wear, you know.
I'd be curious if they charge in other towns for that,
Some do, some don't.
even a minimum
A
donation.
lot of it depends if the clerk is on fees or if she's on salary.
Yeah. Again, it's tying your time up, tying other people's time
Yes, it
up.
does.
So
It does.
if there was a way to,
Oh, we could charge
recoup
them.
a very minor amount,
Yeah.
just so that it kind of helps pay for this process and offset the time.
Well, those people sent us a big bouquet of flowers. That was nice for all our help.
How about a donation box? I mean,
Yeah.
people asked, maybe they'd be willing to donate.
Oh, they try to do that, and we tell them they can't. You know, they tell us, go get a creamy, and it's like, no, we can't do that.
So you can't put a donation box there and let them put what they want in there?
I don't know. I'd rather just charge a fee if I'm going to do
Oh,
that.
all right.
One of the things, Zig, I'm not sure where you were leading with your question. Obviously, one of the options here is that the extra $2 not go into a fund, and in essence, it results in increased revenue from the clerk's office. All right?
Right.
That's one option. I can tell you that, and Joan knows this, I'm the biggest complainer when it comes to the map books. All right, the old map books are all tied into these 3 books, and of course, you know, they only open from one side, and sure enough, the real estate agent that comes in and wants a copy of a survey or whatever, it's on page 74, and you gotta pull 74 pages out, make a copy, and then put the book all back together. So I can tell you, you know, yes, part of the money for getting our maps electronic is really about, in part, it's about saving the maps, because they really get beat up, all right? But it's really more about allowing
Saving time.
staff to be more efficient, and being able to very quickly serve the public. You know, somebody comes in and they live in Sunset Drive, and they don't have a copy of their survey, all right? And they need a copy of their survey for whatever reason, a real estate listing or refinancing, or they need they want to get a zoning permit. If at one time we scan all of those things into a computer, in this day and age, you can have zoom in capability, and you can grab lot 8, send it to the printer, they got it in their hand, they're out the door in seconds, as opposed to 10 minutes, 12 minutes, you know, that Joan or I or Melissa or Michelle have to wrestle with these books. So it really accomplishes, it's an attempt to accomplish 2 goals: protect the records, but also make us be more efficient in how we can much more quickly serve the public.
Does anybody have any recommendations as far as should we charge it on very minimal fee, and if so, what would it be? And again, we don't want to scare people away, but again, we need to
Well, we've already adopted a schedule of fees for copies out of the clerk's office.
Okay.
You know, so like an 8.5 by 11 is 25 cents. You know, it's just that people say, you know, what do I owe you for my copies? They might get 3, and we say, oh, nothing, you're okay. And don't forget, they come in and search my records, they go to our restaurants, eat lunch here while they're in town.
Yeah, and one of the things, relative to searching records, you know, I can tell you, there are lots of towns that charge people. Somebody's doing genealogy, there are towns that charge $2 an hour, $3 an hour, whatever they charge, okay?
True.
I can tell you that the way that we do it here, we very quickly train people, say, here's this index, here's
Right.
this index, here's book A, B, C, and D. There you go. Got any questions, let us know. So they're not really inconvenient. It's
go
not like
back,
we're doing
so-
their genealogy research.
And you know, my point, I'm very comfortable. If Joan's comfortable, I have no
Right, if she's
problem with her
comfortable.
not charging. It's just that, you know, people, you know, I just thought of a donation box would be appropriate if people really, you know, move to
But then
put a
you
couple
have,
bucks in.
then you have to document that, don't you? and all
Well,
that?
then we have to run it through as a
Yeah.
It
revenue,
doesn't,
yeah.
I'm real comfortable with the present system.
Again, just throwing it out there for discussion. So,
I can keep track of it for a month, just see how much I
yeah,
am
just
losing
do
by
that.
not charging.
Get words back to us as to.
I think if it was very clear that the money was going towards book restoration, I think that's.
And that's what I would think we'd want it to go to, is book
Right.
restorations or digital.
Reproduction.
Reproduction. So that would speed up their process too in finding the stuff. 'cause
Yeah.
You could do a search.
Well, that's what some of the clerks' fears are. If they get all their stuff on computerization, it's going to get out there and be online, and then they aren't going to come to the local level. So the towns aren't going to get the $1 a page for a copy of a deed or.
But do we have to actually put it out there on?
If they
on
tell
the-
you to.
No, not
We
right
don't.
now, we don't.
But eventually,
Yeah, and that's why the clerks are hesitant to get
Okay.
it on.
I guess we
Computer.
maybe leave that sleeping dog live then. But we do have a motion and seconded on adopting Joan's recommendation to increase the fee. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. Okay, let's see, so I don't mix up the numbers, I'm gonna let you.
I want to talk about the actor and the
Yep, that's, do we need to talk about?
Yeah, you need to talk about,
Okay.
if it's
Yep.
going, obviously, if it's going.
Yep.
Excuse me. If it's going to affect the budget.
Okay. All right, let's, not deciding which going first, we'll talk about partnership. How would one like to start? Chris?
I would vote to support the partnership just because of the grants that, streetscape grants that we can apply for by having the partnership in place.
I concur.
Any other comments from anyone else? We have to set a dollar figure, right?
5,000.
5,000.
Okay.
that's what they asked for?
Is that going to impact the
Jackson?
budget big time?
Well, you know, when we talked earlier in our work session, Randy, about, you know, the desire to hold our tax rate, obviously that's going to be a formal action here. You know, if you know, obviously that comes out of our year-end fund balance, you know, we can, you know, we do have some, you know,
Wiggle room.
some wiggle room, you know, there is, you know, it's not like that's going to drive, you know, the tax rate up. So we can use that by creating a line item in the general appropriations of 5,000 of the partnership that can be absorbed, and at the same time keep the rate stable.
And that would be just for this year? It wouldn't be like
They'd have
every
to-
year?
yeah, that'd be
Back
correct,
next
yeah.
year.
Come back next year?
Yes.
Well, we've been on their case, you know, we've been trying to get this back up running. And they, you know, we're fortunate we've got people that want to get involved in it. So probably, I don't see why, my opinion is, you know, if that's what they need, that's what they need.
Anybody else, comments?
We need a motion.
Yes, we do. Yep, we kind of went backwards, discussion first on this one, but
Yeah.
I'd ask for motion to,
I'll second it.
okay, we have Lowell making the motion, Ziggy second it. Any further discussion before we take it to a vote? Hearing none. All those in favor for a $5,000 support to partnership, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So carried. Congratulations. Thank you. It goes both ways. It really does. You're going to take care of notifying Mr. Bill? Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, the other thing is that we need to discuss is Actor. I'd ask for a motion. We'll do it there. Anyway.
Motion to include the requested amount of 3,700 whatever from Actor contingent upon their obtaining the grant, the matching grant from the state.
Can I have a second?
I thought they wanted more than that.
They get their,
Yeah, it's the additional. There is in the budget, the 45 and some change. And what they're asking for is an additional 3750 for the increased program for Bristol. That's correct.
you don't have to.
I'll second it.
Okay, Randy's going to second so we can bring it to the table for discussion. Okay. David, would you like to go first?
I think that, while providing public transportation in and around Vergennes and Addison County is a worthwhile goal, I have two issues. One, I don't feel that it is the responsibility of the individual municipalities to provide that service. The other issue is, and Mel might be able to help me with the numbers, when we had a discussion about the costs associated with this additional route and the projected revenue, we're looking at a relatively high rate of subsidy for the service, and I think the number is somewhere around 90%. And to me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. The other issue is that I'm not certain that that the ridership is there to justify the expenditure, and I would not be in favor of including that additional money in the budget for those reasons.
Okay. Siggy?
They get over 90%.
No, the cost, the projected costs associated with this additional level of service, the revenue that's going to come in is 90%, is 10% of that, and you just can't, whether something's a for-profit business or a nonprofit, in my opinion, you can't operate that way. One of the issues is, and not to get too far afield on another subject, but going forward, one of the things that I would like to request of all of these nonprofit entities, whether we include them in the budget process as per their request, such as Actor and some of the other organizations, or whether it's a voter appropriation, in an effort to provide transparency to the voters, and in an effort to encourage these entities to run their business in a fiscally responsible manner, I'd like to request of them in the future that they provide us with financial statements. I'm particularly interested in salaries, and I'm not casting any aspersions on Actor or any other group at this point. I'd just like to know what it is that the taxpayers of the city of Vergennes are paying for, and I'd hope that they would see fit to provide us with that information. But again, I think that the main issue is that I just can't rationalize that level of subsidy.
I guess my opinion is that the city provides, in regards to who's responsible for providing transportation of this nature, I guess I don't know that. I think most municipalities, large municipalities, urban areas are responsible for their own, they're not state-run. And complaint that is often heard in a rural state such as Vermont is a lack of transportation, public transportation, especially in regards to the economic climate, cost of gasoline, potential cost of gasoline, et cetera. And I also feel that there are a lot of services that a municipality provides that to improve quality of life in their community that aren't necessarily profit-driven. And this is, in my opinion, is one. A service such as transportation between our community and other communities in the area would certainly improve quality of life, improve access for not only our community, but also others. For example, for Jackson and the Opera House, bringing people up from Middlebury potentially for events like Vergennes Day, et cetera. I'm not sure that this type of service should, in my opinion, be looked at on a bottom line basis in terms of the profitability or profit potential of the service in and of itself.
All set, Joe? Randy?
My problem with this proposal is that it was sprung on us 2 weeks before our budget was to be finalized, so we didn't have any time to digest what they were trying to accomplish. I agree with David that we should not be, something that's going to be funded by grants up to 90%, and their unwillingness to charge fares from to and fro.
They're charging. They charge.
How much? They said they were going to they got $12,000 in ridership fares last year.
No, actually, it was they were projecting somewhere around 12,000.
Over 3 years.
Oh, they were, that was the projection.
I'm just not, they're in the budget for the 46, whatever it may be, or 48, whatever it is. And I agree, I think they waited too late to ask for the extra money. So it's no, but as far as I'm concerned,
Okay,
I'm not.
we'll get to the vote part. This is just for the discussion part, so we'll just. Chris, any thoughts?
No, I agree with David.
Okay. Lowell, comments?
I'm torn, because I can see both sides. I'd like to be able to offer the transportation, but the municipality's funding so much of a portion of it just seems a little much, and after the 3 years of the grant that they're asking for, what happens then? Do we have an increase on top of that? I don't know, and should our taxpayers be picking up that? I'm not really sure.
Randy?
Another point I want to make, we're only talking about the additional service they want. They're going to continue with their regular service.
Correct.
Which is happening already.
And if I could remind everyone what the additional service means is hourly direct route from Vergennes to Middlebury.
So that's every hour?
Every hour. And I'm not sure, it wasn't like 24 hours a day. I can't remember.
It's a, I don't know, is it really
12
every
trips
hour?
a day.
I thought it was, it's going to take a lesser amount of time. It's going to take you 20 minutes to get there.
I thought it was on the hour. I
versus
thought they said it was on
about-
the hour or every hour.
Do you remember?
I think that's what it was
On the hour?
they were adding additional routes, and I really can't remember if it was that there's currently 6 and it's going to 12 or 4 to 8, I'm not sure, but that's what it was about, was increasing that program.
The other point that I would make, again, we're not talking about cutting their funding totally from the budget, but Joe is correct in that a lot of other municipalities do fund public transportation. I'm not aware of any the size of Vergennes that do. Generally you're talking about larger municipalities, and unfortunately one of the realities and one of the challenges of living in a rural state is making difficult decisions. Most of our taxpayers are looking at an increase. That's money out of their pocket next year. Most of them have seen other costs increase in terms of fuel food, et cetera, et cetera. Most of them have not seen an increase in salary, I would bet. And so while the voters and private for-profit enterprises have been forced to tighten their belts and in some instances put off plans for expansion, I think that it's fair to expect the same from nonprofits as well.
Okay. Randy, did you have something more you wanted to?
Yeah, actually, it's a question. Do they operate on Saturday and Sunday, or is it just Monday through Friday?
I believe they operate on Saturday. I'm not sure about Sunday. Pretty sure. Jackson, do you know by chance?
He said Monday through Friday.
Monday through
12
Friday?
times a day.
Okay. Monday through Friday, 12 times a day. There's your answer, sir. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call it to vote. All those in favor as to pass the motion to support the funding, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the nays have it.
So Joe was the only one that said yes?
Yes, correct. Anybody abstain? No abstentions? Okay. All right, now we come to the big hour.
That's it. Try not to,
So I don't mess up the numbers, I'll let
Okay.
you,
as I mentioned earlier in the budget work session, we have, Joan and I worked today completing our year-end forecast, and obviously, the way that our accounting system works, there are bills that come in July that are booked back into June, so those accrued expenses have to, will end up having to show up in our budget. Also, depending on how delinquent taxes come in, that can affect us either positive or negatively, depending on how well we do within the first 60 days. I'm confident that last year when you ended your fiscal year '08, you had a $97,000 surplus. You elected to allocate $40,000 towards capital projects, of which that has been spent towards the public works truck and a police cruiser. You also allocated $50,500 to offset the tax rate last year. Our forecast showed that the revenues for this current year are off about $20,000. You know, it's a combination of items. Relative to our general fund expense budget, the expenses were actually about $90,000 less than budget. So therefore, we had revenue shortfall of 20. We have expenditures of $90,000 less, and therefore, we didn't need the $50,500, as it turned out, to get that to be a balanced budget. So in essence, $20,000 shortfall, $90,000 gain in expenses. The net is $70,000. We also had $7,000 that was not, it was not anticipated being used, so that gets you to a surplus of around $77,000. And again, we're not really sure where the accruals are. So the budget that I presented to you, even with the changes, the changes relative to, we do need to make an adjustment in the public works budget relative to our debt service on the new truck. We need a change in the budget based on the appropriation to the partnership. There also needs to be some changes related to what was the board's decision in the budget work session to provide for a 2% wage increase, in essence, across the board for city employees. All of those numbers, when incorporated into the budget, we can still confidently set a tax rate at the same level of 0.6007, which is the same tax rate, same city tax rate that you had before. The other recalculation, a minor one, is that the voter authorization for tax exemption on the Masonic Hall and the voter authorization for the increased veterans exemption, those two things, the city has to collect the education taxes as a result of those modifications in the grand list. The net result of that so-called local rate or local voter decision rate is 0.0023. So when you add that 0.0023 plus the 0.6007, that gets you a combined city and local rate of 0.6030. 030. 0.6030. 2030. 3, right. So what I'd be looking for, Mike, would be for the board to set, I'm always confused, Joe, on whether or not this board sets the local rate. I'm assuming they obviously set the city rate.
We do.
We set the city tax rate and the local tax rate.
Right. So what
Which
I'd-
authorizes me to put those numbers on the bill.
So what I would be recommending that the board
Adopt.
adopt a city tax rate level at 0.6007 and a local rate at 0.0023, and to adopt this budget, which will be amended based on the items that I discussed and the action taken related to the partnership.
I have a motion from Chris. I have a second from Lowell to adopt, as Mel has given the figures. Open it for any discussion at this point.
I just would like to thank Melvin for doing such a great job.
That's coming.
Yeah, and keeping it low
Yeah.
or stable.
Very good. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? If you do, we'll raise your taxes. So, okay, I just have a few things to announce. Just try to push the ticket sales on the teddy bear. Its present home is Sure Cuts. It'll take another move south to Linda's Apparel on Saturday. Next meeting is July 21st, and we'll get that agenda out so that you know ahead of time, give you as much advance warning depending on how busy we are. The lighting of the falls, we've made a little modification. It still is from 9 o'clock at night till 11:45, and it is now going 7 nights a week. So, oh, yes, this is helping. Yep, that is really had. I was down last night and had some discussion with the boaters, and they were questioning, how long have you been doing this? This is very beautiful. So we've had a little minor problem about one set of lights not lighting, and that's being adjusted or addressed, so that'll even improve it more than what it is. So, moonlit lighting?
Yeah, I had two other things,
Yep.
Mike. It's up to you, Mike, whether or not you want to
We
discuss
can do
this
it.
in detail.
We're
but,
good. We're good.
This is a printed copy of an email that I wrote to the Moonlight Lady. The Moonlight Lady is a cruise boat that apparently started here last year.
Here I go.
And when I spoke to, when Captain Walker got in touch with me, I was under the assumption that this activity of reserving space for the cruise boat and making modifications to the electrical system to accommodate that was something that had, been approved by Rennie and, if necessary, approved by the city council. And I really don't necessarily care to deal with the history on this thing. I just want to let you know that in reality, we have this cruise boat coming here, and historically, the way that the that our docks have been used. They've been used on a first-come, first-served basis. And this program that has been set up for the Moonlight Lady is whereby there's signs that are put up and the dock's reserved. And I guess whether or not the city council needs to necessarily make a decision tonight, because I can tell you the Moonlight Lady, you know, they were of the assumption that their program and the reserving dock space for them and hooking up to the electricity is something that was supported by the city. And what I would like to do is to at least bring the city council into the loop on this program, find out if whether or not you know, this is appropriate. It is a municipal dock. I mean, you know, many boaters come here from Canada and the like, and it has historically been on a first-come, first-served basis. And the reserving of a dock, I really feel, is a policy decision of the board. And we will implement whatever policy you make. But so again, I don't need a decision tonight. I think that it's, you know, given the fact that they did communicate with Rennie in the past, you know, I don't think that it would be fair to change for this season. All right, let it take its course. I can tell you they don't use the dock every Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. They don't. It's about whether or not they have people on. If they have a group, it holds 16 people. You know, obviously, if only 2 people show up on the boat, you know, they don't make the run. They aren't due back here until July 12th. You know, obviously, if this was a waiting list operation where they had tons and tons of people, you know, signing up and riding this boat, you know, it's a large boat. It takes up the entire McDonough Drive dock, and obviously, in the busy season, you know, it ends up causing a result of the docks being full. All right, so I just want you to you know, digest this email, think about it, and then, you know, in advance of next season, I feel that Captain Walker really should be coming back talking to the city council about whether or not, you know, this program continue or whether or not it really, you know, shouldn't necessarily take up the dock that many nights out of the year, because there's only X amount of feet down there, so it's just for future discussion.
And the weight of the boat requires something substantial to tie to, so they had to modify the dock itself to put in special cleats, had to increase the amperage of the electricity because they need a 50 amp, not a 20 amp. So there's been some other things that have happened, and again, it is what it is. The unfortunate thing, it's driving some of the smaller boats out, and we cannot allow that to happen. I did appoint a group of individuals to look at that. It would be really great to see what we can do, not necessarily this year, but come up with some plans on expanding that dockage down there. I don't know if that requires Army Corps of Engineer permitting and what, but it would be nice to get something going on that because, again, it helped keeps our city afloat. That was a pun.
Good, it's a good one, it's good.
Huh?
No.
No.
Already loaded when it was coming up here?
It's loaded, they tour the lake, and they go into certain dockage, certain areas, and stay overnight. Then when they're hooked up to our power, they don't have to run their generators. So that's.
Apparently they must feed them down there, right on
Oh,
the
yeah,
boat?
on the boat.
Feed them on the boat.
So they have
Feed 'em,
no,
drink.
they have no desire to go anywhere. Vergennes.
Very little.
They have a liquor license.
Yeah, very little, yeah.
We'll have a meeting of that committee
Yep.
before next.
Yeah, please do, and, like we said, it's coming in the 12th, if you can go down and, anybody can go down and look at it, drive around and, yeah.
The other thing, Mike, I want to just hand out, this is also not for any discussion. Mike's been bugging me for this for a little while. You know, obviously I gave them all.
Oops, they do?
have them already.
They got them all?
Yeah. You know,
I have it already.
one of the things that Mike wanted me to do for the benefit of the board is to put
there's
together a
enough for
so-called
everybody.
goals list. I call it a goals and special projects list. I know that this has been, it's my understanding this has been done for previous managers. And Mike is going to try to pull some former, past goals and objectives. Obviously, I do much of my work is day to day. The phone rings, I'm dealing with it. Somebody comes in, I'm dealing with it. But I'm going to say this, there is some projects that I can find time to do, and so I wanted to just share with you, some of the the special projects that are kind of on my plate. I didn't write a book here. These are just some things that I feel need to be addressed over the next year, if possible. Obviously, this, if there's grant projects that come up, I haven't listed every little project or large project that's on my plate, but these are some kind of special things that I seen that I need to, coordinate and take care of them. Some of these are not totally done by me. They're done by me and others. So it's just a little bit of a guiding document. What I would say is, I'll speak for Michael, feel free to email Mike if you see something on this list that you think doesn't deserve priority, or there's something that's not on that list and you don't understand why. Communicate that with Mike. Mike and I communicate all the time. So again, I'm here to serve you folks. So you're the ones that should be helping me set priority as to what projects you want to see accomplished.
Did you talk to Joni about the three of us sitting down about?
I did not talk to her about that, but we can.
We don't want to surprise her.
Right.
We have a surprise for you. Actually, we hope it'll make things. Mel and I are talking about looking at the whole operation of the front office. I mean, the whole city management up here, and see if there's a way. They're really doing a fantastic job with the way they're doing it now. We don't want to put anybody in an early coffin. We want to make sure that we structure the work in a manner and it's well balanced, and we have fallback tos, so that if somebody's out, goes on vacation, we have a way to cover it. I would say that I think this is the best team effort that we've seen in a long time, the people pulling together to make things happen. So Mel and I would like to meet with Joan and just talk about the future and see how we could possibly keep it headed in that direction, and what we could do to tweak it, modify it, and make it, possibly improve it.
Does this mean that you may not be hiring anybody else?
We probably will have a
It's not really about hiring at all,
part-timer.
Zig. It's really about structuring responsibility, clarifying,
So you're saying a possibility could be just the way it is right now?
Yes, we
Oh,
could
okay.
be doing part-timer. There's some, Mel and I haven't talked about this one thing, that I had a request from the chief in the past, and this will be part of the discussion that we have then, is where they could use some help with some data entry from the clerk, and so we didn't get into that. So there's a lot of little other things that we're going to talk about and see how we can best serve the city, and if there's a way to do it smarter and not necessarily harder. So
Yeah, it's not about changing
it's not,
staff at all.
it's not by changing staff, no.
Oh, I know, I was
And
just wondering
if Mel chooses, he's held off hiring somebody because he thinks we got something that works relatively good, and how do we just finalize some stuff here? But once we get it where we want to finalize it on paper, so we know where we're headed. So, having said that, before we adjourn, we bring closure to another year, a very busy and a hard year, where everybody has really done a fantastic job. And I would like to thank both the council and Mel, Joan, and the rest of the city employees for their efforts. And I'd like to give them a round of applause. Having said that, I'd ask for an adjournment.
Vergennes Day?
Oh,
Can I mention Vergennes Day one time on camera? So that-
no, we got Vergennes Day, we got time. Oh, excuse me,
French
French Heritage Day.
That's what I was thinking.
French Heritage Day, that happens before we, meet again. So please, get out, be seen, and enjoy that day. It should be a big event, so.
What day is it, Mike?
It starts, if you want to come to the supper, it's Friday night on the 17th, and it's a VA, it's a meal. And then, I don't know what time that, get online, French Heritage Day, and Addison County Chamber. And then on the 18th, the big events, starts off with a French toast breakfast at the fire station, on to many, many events, and then we'll be having our fun and winding up for that, and next thing you know, summer will be over with. Ooh, I didn't say that. Thank you.